What if you wanted to become legend, but it took you hundreds of hours of dedication? What if it took you multiple years to achieve the goals that you wanted? Would you be able to do it? This is a story of a man who went above and beyond and dedicated himself to one singular goal: becoming the biggest giant slayer Minecraft has ever seen. This story begins in December of 2020 with the launch of the Eldrasque world boss in Monumenta. A giant with multiple area denial attacks was the only thing standing between you and piles of loot. Zaelting, a player who had recently joined the server and had become part of a new guild, FPF, wasn't afraid, and was part of the group which took down the beast first. However, before he would rise to prominence in the Eldrasque leaderboard, many other events would come first. Unlike many standard bosses in MMOs, Eldrasque doesn't really focus on beating you by brute force or direct attacks. Instead, he has a massive circular arena, and much like a Puff main, his singular goal is to knock you off of it, killing you instantly. He also has a shield which prevents all manner of attack, and conveniently placed icicles around the arena. Your job here is to lead him underneath the icicles, break them, and begin damage. The boss has multiple wave attacks which will launch you away, and has a passive mechanic in which getting too far from the boss means that you take damage. The same applies if you get too close. Falling off the arena at any point means game over. Strategies varied over time, from people creating a massive ring during the first few runs to completely avoid getting knocked off, to the mole strategy which emerged later on, with people tunneling underneath the boss in order to prevent getting absolutely obliterated. After the initial release of the world boss, many began to take to the leaderboard, attempting to one-up each other. Shadow Visions, one of Monumenta's lead developers, and Nobody Pie, who was a mod at the time, raced each other for the number 1 spot. As someone who was close with both of them at the time, there was intense betrayal all around. Eldrasque would be ran while one was online and the other was offline, and there would be frequent attempts to grief one another specifically. The leaderboard number 1 spot would constantly be swapping places at this point, with a new record holder almost every single day as Pie and Shadow battled it out. However, at around 190 wins, the fighting slowed to a crawl, and neither side truly emerged victorious. During this time, Crusader, another player on the server who was known for being one of the best warriors in the game, decided to take on Eldrasque, and beat him only using melee weapons, a truly monumental feat. This would prove to be especially difficult, considering that Eldrasque's attacks at the time were all based on proximity to the boss, and in theory the further away you were, the safer you were. Despite his initial belief that accomplishing such a feat would be impossible, on December 22, 2020, Eldrasque was slain by Crusader, wielding nothing but melee weaponry. During this period, the boss was receiving frequent changes, and was incredibly popular among the players. It was the first world boss in the Selzian Isles, the second region of the game, and people loved it. Fwop, a player on the server later known for developing a world boss of his own, was at the top of the leaderboard most consistently after Shadow and Pie battled it out. On top of this, a player named Zeronsis was dealing with some major problems on Australian internet. He died so many times that a video had to be made about it, and honestly, it's one of the most hilarious stories about Eldrasque from the early days. A group, however, would soon arise that would revolutionize this boss, and turn up the heat on the entire Eldrasque community. During the spring and early summer of 2021, a group known as the Sauna would begin to take Eldrasque to its limits. Zaelting, Osauce, NeedMoney90, Zwerbu, myself, 1 in 10, Crinjora, and Pacific Legend would begin taking shots at the Eldrasque world record, and that record would start to come way, way down.
Checking. We should offer to take in 1 or 2 people each time who don't have an artifact.
Yes,
Even if they're leaderboard position, I think we should allow them to have a heart attack.
Is that sub
What?
one?
Sub
That
one?
was sub one?
New world.
Let's go!
Sub one? And now. There we go.
Holy!
Mr. Nice.
What the heck?
Excuse
Okay,
me?
And last one. Bruh? Any bros?
What the
Okay,
fuck was
okay.
that? Carrie, give it to Zorbo. Give Tinker to Zorbo.
I'm gonna say names twice this time. Duck, cringe, me, duck, cringe, me, and duck, cringe, me, duck, cringe, me,
Oh my god.
and duck, cringe, me. Duck.
After this point, with the world record speedrun safely in the Sauna's hands, the group disbanded. Xailting was quickly rising the Eldrasque leaderboards, and the Sauna gave him time to truly master the boss and understand the mechanics in full, skills that would come in handy soon. Sometime after this point, Spy began hosting his own challenge. You see, Spy was a developer on the server, and he found something pretty funny to do. He basically decided to create something called the Leper Community, which was a group of players who would try to beat Eldrasque using the Immunity Mask, Indomitable, the Eclipse Splitter, and also solo Eldrasque while doing it. If you were able to use these specific set of items to obliterate the boss, Spy would offer a Holy Spoon Hope Skin for Tellum, a sword from the first region of the game. This was a huge reference to Darkest Dungeon. However, all of these shenanigans put the development team on notice. Eldrasque had become too easy, and needed some changes to make it a true challenge once more. However, these changes would end up damaging the boss, at least temporarily. On June 10th, 2021, Eldrasque would receive some significant changes. Prior to this update, one could fire at the icicles above the boss's head as fast as they wanted, causing the boss's shield to deplete near instantly. This was changed to allowing the player to fire once every 3 seconds, slowing any possible speedruns considerably and cementing the Sauna as the world record holders. As well, the boss gained a new passive meant to disincentivize mindlessly hitting the boss at close range. After this period, while the boss remained popular, community events surrounding the boss were less frequent, and with the release of Hecate, the second world boss of the Celsian Isles in September, Eldrasque was run even less. On September 9th, 2021, a player cap was added to the boss, further damaging it, and requiring that if you had more than 25 people in the arena, the boss would immediately start, effectively stopping people from creating massive runs, which made the boss easier. There were other controversial changes during this period as well, including a massive boost to boss health scaling, which eventually was replaced with a damage reduction system. However, with the game slowly increasing in popularity over time, and Xailting completing his other tasks, things were beginning to change. By 2022, Xailting had already climbed to the top of several leaderboards and was an incredibly well-known player in multiple mini-communities in the game. Nearing the top of the Eldrasque leaderboard, Xailting had made up his mind. He wasn't just going to take the top spot, he was going to reach 1,000 wins, a feat that was only done once before on the server in terms of world bosses, when Lord Geek beat Call, a boss that had been out for nearly a year and a half longer, 1,000 times. In order to do this, Xail would need over 300 boss keys, a truly massive down payment on what was, fundamentally, going to be a huge financial loss. To complete all 300 bosses was going to take 11 hours at least. Xail would do it in a single day. On July 13th, 2022, Xail set the date for his ascendance to godhood, Sunday the 17th. He invited the community to join him in slaughtering Eldrasque. And he did. In doing this, Zale has cemented his legacy on the server forever, as the man who would go above and beyond for his goals. He has truly become the legendary Giant Slayer. I would like to thank everyone in the Monumenta Discord who helped with this project. It's my most ambitious undertaking yet. If you want to join Monumenta, the server IP is displayed on screen. Feel free to pop by. Please subscribe down below as well if you enjoyed this. I hope to make more videos like this one in the future. Look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.